Your book editor is one of the people you're going to work with most closely on your book. So you don't want to just hire someone willy-nilly. You want to make sure that you've got some good information about this person so that you make the right decision when it comes to hiring your book editor. In today's video, I'm answering 5 questions that you need to have the answer to before you sign on the dotted line with a book editor. Hi there, Jodi Brandon here of Jodi Brandon Editorial. I work with bloggers, solopreneurs, small business owners, and creative entrepreneurs who want to scale their business using a book. And today we are talking all about the 5 more questions. We've done this before. I'm going to link that video below. So the first time we did this with 5 different questions. These are some other questions that I've thought of that you have submitted in comments and questions to me. So I thought I would do another round of answering these questions that you need to know before you hire an editor. Now first, disclaimer. These questions are about your copy editor. There are different kinds of editors, as we've talked about before, and in fact we have a video about that I will also link below for you to check out if you are confused about the types of editors or just want to clarify that. But these questions are specifically for your copy editor. So number 1, does my manuscript need to be finished before the copy edit starts? Now this is going to depend on the editor because everybody works a little bit differently, but I would say for the most part, yes, your manuscript needs to be finished. There could be a couple holes here and there of things that you need to fill in, like maybe the issue number or issue date of a magazine that you're citing an article from or quoting an article from, something like that. That's not a big deal, but big chunks of text or, chapters not being finished, anything like that. And a good copy editor worth their salt is going to tell you, can't start yet. We need a finished manuscript first. So that's question number 1. Number 2, will they provide an editing sample? This is something that comes up over and over and over again. And this could be a deal breaker for an author. Sometimes you get a feel for the person, but you want to know what their work is like. And so you ask, do you provide an edit sample and what does that look like? Because again, that's going to be different depending on the editor because we all work differently. Some people will provide you, a 5 to 10 page sample free of charge. Some people will provide a 1 to 2 page sample free of charge. Some people will provide a sample, but they will charge you for it and then they'll deduct that cost of the sample from your final bill if you hire them. Some just say, no, I'm sorry, I don't do that. Some will not provide an actual sample of edited text to you, but will give you sort of a write-up, almost like a shortened author memo, just saying, these are the kinds of edits that you could expect, and these are the kinds of issues I see based on this sample material. So it really just depends on how the person works and what you're looking for. Again, I have had clients say that this is a deal breaker for them if I won't edit, 10 pages, 20 pages of text, for free before we start. And that's something that's not one of my policies. So if that's a deal breaker for you, make sure that you're clear about that and what your expectations are before you hire someone. Number 3, when does editing happen in the publishing process? When do I need to be thinking about this? So copy editing is completed after your manuscript is finished, but before the book is laid out or formatted, depending on what term your designer uses. So it's sort of in the middle there. So you've done the writing, you've done the research, you've hopefully revised a few times so that you're submitting a clean manuscript for copy editing, but the book is still either like in a Google Doc or Microsoft Word. It has not been formatted into any kind of design program yet. So that's the stage. Number 4, what style guide does your editor use? If this person answers anything but the Chicago Manual of Style, run the other way. The Chicago Manual of Style is the Bible used in the adult, and children, in the trade book world. That means general audience. So not academic books, they have their own, style that they use. Not reference or technical books, they have their own kind of style. But generally speaking, everyone watching this video or everyone visiting my website or that has ever reached out to me are writing a trade book, an adult trade nonfiction book. And those books, the editors of those books follow the Chicago Manual of Style. It just lists, it's for someone who's not into someone who's not a grammar geek or somebody who's not into, all of the rules of language and all of that, looking at the Chicago Manual of Style would be watching paint dry on a wall. For people like me, it's great because you can find just about any rule you can imagine in there. How do I cite a book with, I'm citing one chapter from a book with 3 authors that was published online and is out of print. I can find that in Chicago Manual of Style. How do I, do I use a comma in this instance? Do I not use a comma in this instance? All of the grammar rules that, again, will make most people's eyes glaze over, but they will make copy editors, sing and dance, frankly. That's what the Chicago Manual of Style is. And I don't have mine here handy within reach to show you, but it's a book about that thick. It's updated every couple of years. It just makes copy editors positively giddy to know when we look something up that we actually were right in our head. So that is the style guide that you should be expecting to hear when you ask, what style guide do you use, to potential editors. And last but not least for today, what will I get back from you? Number 5. So when you get a manuscript back from an editor, is that what you're getting? Are you getting instructions on how to use Microsoft Word, track changes? Are you getting a style sheet that you can use, that your proofreader can use, that you can keep and have handy if you want to write a second edition someday or a second book as a follow-up one day? All of those kinds of things that go on a style sheet, or anything that's sort of unique to you. So typically, for example, the Chicago Manual of Style will say that you spell out numbers up to 9, and then after that you use numerals. So, if you're saying 8 to 10 books, it's EIGHT, 2TO, and then the number 10 books. So let's say you want to spell out up to 25 for whatever reason, because you're the author, you're the publisher of your own book, and that's what you want to do. We would put that on a style sheet. I would put that on a style sheet for you, because your proofreader, if they don't know that that's your rule, they're going to mark that every single time for you to change to a number up to 25. So things like that. If there are, for example, acronyms in your text, maybe like an association. I belong to, for example, the American Copy Editors Society, and we use the term ACEs when we're talking about it. But anytime you have one of those in your text, on the first time it's mentioned, you should spell out what it is, type it out, and then put the abbreviation acronym in parentheses behind it. But then you can use that throughout the book later on. That would also go on a style sheet, just so that your proofreader doesn't have to look it up. They know that you know what it means, you've identified in the text somewhere. All of those sorts of, again, little nitty-gritty things that probably you might not be paying attention to, but your editor is, and your proofreader will be also. Another thing that some editors do is a heading hierarchy. That's something I provide my authors, just to make sure if you are submitting a book to me and the entire book is in 12-point Times New Roman, then all of the headings are in 12-point. So there's no way for me to differentiate between a primary heading, a main subhead, and a secondary subhead. So if I figure out based on the text what I think those are and give you a list, you can say, oh no, I actually meant for that to be a secondary heading, not a primary heading. And then we see, does the text need to be tweaked at all, or is that going to be clear to readers once it's styled as a primary heading and a secondary heading? And that document is going to be helpful not only to you and me as author and editor, but it's also going to be helpful for your designer. You're going to save them a lot of legwork. So that's just, a nice thing that some editors provide. It's something you could ask for. But you want to know exactly what you're getting back from an editor to know how are you going to be clear moving forward. Are you going to have everything you need when the edit is done before you move on to the formatting stage? So those are the next 5 questions that we're asking in this series. I imagine that there's going to be another video of these someday. So if you have any other questions, pop them in the comments below and I would be happy to answer them there. And then if I hear it enough times, you'll see it in another video someday. So give this video a thumbs up if you like this information and found it useful. Subscribe to the channel if you don't already and you're interested in book writing and book publishing. And that's it for today. I'll see you in the next video.